welcome everyone on into VGMporium, video game music and more. So here we are, episode 100. Can you believe it? In just 2 months shy of 2 years. It's pretty crazy that I was able to come up with all these different topics, just under 100 because, some of those repeats like the shop themes, the SPOs, and the, grab bags, but still, the fact that I was able to keep this up for 100 episodes is, still kind of blowing my mind. And I knew I'd probably get here eventually, but it's just made all the sweeter knowing that I have a whole slew of customers that enjoyed the journey as much as I did. And so, as you already know, today is customer favorites. And how is this gonna work? Well, I got submissions from many customers about their favorite track that has been played on the show. And some of them left audio messages with their picks. And, I listened to all of them, and I gotta say, just thank you all so much for just the kind words. It's all really encouraging and give me that fuel to blast through 100 more. So now let's get into this proper, because I have a lot of music to play because there's a lot of picks here. So to start off with our opening track, which is, my favorite I decided to start with. This is Patch Slide Test number 00 from OPL Drive FM BIOS Little Selection by Naruto2413. And this is from episode 86. Now that's what I call YM2413. And this is the first thing that came to mind when I thought of favorite tracks. I don't know why, but, it felt appropriate to open it with because it's just so energetic and, really just here we go, which is what we're going to be doing because I got a lot of tracks to play, so getting right into it, and in no particular order, we're going to start with Grand Slam Achievement from Super Family Tennis, also known as Smash Tennis, composed by Yasunori Kawamoto, and this is from episode 32, Sports. This was picked by Crazygoji. That was Grand Slam Achievement from Super Family Tennis, also known as Smash Tennis, composed by Yasunori Kawamoto, featured in episode 32, Sports, and this is picked by Crazygoji. And here's what the boy has to say about this track. Just love music like this. It's music that sounds like it cares. Stuff with lots of dominant 7 chords, or just uses the Mixolydian mode. And it's super sentimental and stuff. And there seems to be a little extra note here. He seems to want me to say, "Beyond race case is a monkey." Now ain't that silly, folks. Thank you, Gojira Thing, for that delightful message. And so for a little refresher on episode 32, Sports, it was basically just a Tim and Eric reference because I started the episode off with a chiptune remix of the song Sports from Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Great Job, and then ended it with a remix of my own of the credits theme of Tim and Eric, Awesome Show, Great Job. And in between all that, tracks from sports games, like Gilded Hoops, Diamond Bags, Flight Wheel, sports. It's a silly time. You should go check it out. And you want to know who else you should check out? Crazygoji. He's a fellow chiptunist on SoundCloud and Bandcamp. Really crazy good music. Now moving right along, I actually have a message from Jameson of Bar Silence with his track pick as well as some words he'd like to say.
Hey everyone, this is Jameson, host of Bar Silence, a video game music podcast. I've been listening to VGMporium since the very beginning, and I also have the honor of being part of the Brotherhood of VGM podcast class of 2022. First and foremost, man, excellent work on the show. I'm a big fan of what you've been doing, and I also want to give you a sincere thank you for everything that you've given us all in the last 100 episodes. I've learned so much about FM music, chiptune artists, and heard some of the finest shop themes that gaming has to offer thanks to your show. But there is one episode in particular where I actually discovered a new favorite song. And that is Tengu Man's theme, but from the PlayStation version. I had this game on the Sega Saturn as a kid, and after all these years, I never knew that the PlayStation version had a completely different theme. So thanks for introducing me to this absolute gem of a track. So anyhow, again, congratulations on 100 episodes. Incredible work. Here's to the best ahead, and cheers to 100 more, my friend.
That was Tengu Man's theme from Mega Man 8, the PS1 version, composed by Shusaku Uchiyama. And this is featured in episode 31, the themes of Tengu Man and Astro Man. And this is picked by Jameson, host of Bar Silence. And thank you so much, dude, for what you said. And I know we don't really interact much, but at least we can speak to each other through our shows. Which I gotta say, your show, top notch. It's the attention you put into the quality of it is something to strive for, though, that's the difference between having a weekly show and a monthly show. With a weekly, I'm just kind of like scrambling, throwing things together, like, oh, what am I gonna do? And then you have that month to really make sure everything is nice and tight. And it warms my heart to know that I helped you with your FM enlightenment. Take it from this FM junkie. It's really good shit. Now a little rundown on that episode was that, there's multiple themes of Tengu Man and Astro Man between Mega Man 8 and Rockman and Forte. And this is really the only instances of, Robot Masters having different tracks between different games. Other than Mega Man 2 on the Game Boy, though, that is a special case. Into that later. But now, we're going to keep moving on. But I gotta thank Jameson once more for his wonderful message. It's giving me a boost, probably amongst many others I'm going to be getting throughout this episode, to, go for 100 more. And as I mentioned, Jameson is the host of Bar Silence VGM podcast, and it's a really, really good podcast. You go check it out. Now we got a pick from a relatively new listener. This is Final Results from NBA Jam, the Sega Genesis version, composed by John Hay, and this is featured in episode 3, Jams. And this was picked by Jlooky. That was Final Results from NBA Jam, composed by John Hay, from episode 3, Jams, and this was picked by Jlooky. And here's what they have to say about this pick. They just find the tune real catchy. It gets you pumped up to see the final results. And I definitely agree with them on that. I mean, how can you not with those really grungy sweeping pads at the beginning, the funky-ass bass, and those super choppy staccato keys, modulating up and up and up towards the loop? It's good stuff. And now the episode that this is from, Jams, episode 3, the name implies it all. Playing jams made with gems, which is a sound engine developed for the Sega Genesis, used largely by composers in the West. Majority of the soundtracks made using this engine, not very good because, they just use the preset sounds, which themselves are not the best, but when in the hands of somebody who knows what they're doing, they can make some really damn good music. And I'm about due to do a second Jams episode, maybe for episode 103. All right, so moving right into our next track. This is coming in from Pernell, the one of 2 hosts of Rhythm and Pixels podcast, and he actually has something he'd like to say.
Good evening, sir. I'm going to be submitting Xeno Arcadia from Hylix 2 by Mason Lindroth and Chuck Salamone, which you played on episode 89, Grab Bag 5. Now, I'm selecting this track for 3 reasons. 1, because it's a fantastic track in its own right, duh. And 2, because it's a style that neither of us usually would gravitate towards on our own. But most importantly, 3, We both learned about this track and this game from the exact same Sacramento, California concert. I didn't personally attend it, but another friend of mine did. Not only did she love the tune, but she in turn recommended it to me with the words, "You are going to love this track." It was a complete surprise to me at the concert. I coaxed her into making it into an official live stream submission for Rhythm and Pixels, and it officially made our September playlist as well. It just goes to show just how unexpectedly connected our little community of VGM aficionados truly is, and I love it for that. I mean, geez, seriously, you were both at the same freaking concert. So close. I'm genuinely glad that you have continued to produce your show, and I genuinely do enjoy it. It's a fantastic piece. It provides a genuinely fun and wacky element to this hobby of ours, and I hope to see you joyously burn through 100 more. I'm glad to be able to refer to you as tired. Anyway, I'm glad to be able to refer to you as a friend, and congratulations on hitting the big 100. Thank you, buddy. Catch you later.
Thank you so much, Pernell, and you got it. So coming up, we got Xeno Arcadia from Hylix 2, composed by Mason Lindroth and Chuck Salamone, and this was featured in episode 89, Grab Bag 5. That was Xeno Arcadia from Hylix 2, composed by Mason Lindroth and Chuck Salamone. It was featured in episode 89, Grab Bag 5, and this is picked by Pernell. And that is a pretty crazy coincidence that I and one of Pernell's friends was there at the same time, just totally unaware and just there to enjoy Ian Cowell and Kerry Wood in an unofficial appearance of Biscore. And I think I mentioned this on Grab Bag 5, but when they pulled this song out, pretty much most of the room just went absolutely nuts. And I think, I can't remember if it was the drummer or the bassist for one of the other bands, just like, he was just over the moon happy about them doing this song. Now, as to Pernell's message, again, thank you so much for what you said, especially coming from you, because you and Rob are one of the main reasons why I started my show, because I was hemming and hawing about it, and I can't remember which episode it was, but you gave, just one of your end of the show, motivationals is the best way to put it, and it just finally kicked my ass into gear to get this shop going. So again, thank you so much, Pernell and Rob, if you happen to be listening to this. So Rob and Pernell are the hosts of Rhythm and Pixels Video Game Music Podcast, and they're getting close up to 8 years strong here, and I do believe they are approaching 400 episodes. Definitely something to strive for, though they do have the advantage of being, two hosts on a show, so they can have like the back and forth, and it keeps the energy going. Whereas, I'm a solo show, so am I going to be able to keep up that pace? I don't know. Maybe I just need to up my amount of guests. I'm actually going to be starting to have guests here soon after this episode. Speaking of which, I actually had Pernell on as a guest on episode 60, Bargain Bin Games, where we talked about games we got in the bargain bin. It is a ridiculously fun time. All right, getting into our next pick here, we're going from episode 89 to 69. This is Seduction from Tower of Succubus, composed by Gentle Breeze, and picked by Bedroth from episode 69, Adults Only section. That was Seduction from Tower of Succubus, composed by Gentle Breeze, and this was featured in episode 69, Adults Only section, and this was picked by Bedroth. And yes, for those of you not aware, VGMporium does have an adult section as of a few months ago, and it is run by a fellow by the name of Sleazy Sal. His full name is Salentino. I don't know his last name. He just he's actually a good friend of Donatello Valentino, who is our resident swank master. But yeah, you know, we gotta have an adult section because there's a lot of video games that are very explicit in adult content, and the music in it, you know, we can't have it displayed on the main floor, even like in the higher shelf. So we gotta have a place for it in the back. And you know, as uncomfortable things around Sal can be, he does a really good job at running the section. So now Bedroth has a little message here. He says, I remember really liking this track in the midst of an episode that was filled with perhaps unlikely amount of gems. And you know, that's the thing. A lot of these explicitly adult-only games have really amazing music. And you know, if there wasn't a way to listen to this music outside of the game, great majority of us would not know about these amazing jams. So thank you, Bedroth, for your pick. And if you didn't know, Bedroth is one of the hosts of BG Mania, as well as the former host of VGM Very Good Music Podcast. And you should definitely give them both a listen. And Bedroth was also a guest on VGMporium as well, on episode 85, Originals from the VGM Pros. All right, now moving into our next track here. This one has another message with it, this time coming from Chuck, the one half of Paper Chuck, and a fellow chiptunist. So let's hear what he's got to say.
Rage, what's up, man? Congrats on 100 episodes. Your enthusiasm for the deep cuts of the video game world, all the chips, the composers, not to mention just kind of managing all those crazy people you got working at the shop. It's been great, and I can't wait for 100 more. For my track, I picked from episode 2, the shop themes. The shop theme from Front Mission on Super Nintendo by Ryu Omimoto. For me, the big thing was, like, he's known for all these, you know, insane melodies and the depths of sound that he can get on these, like, chips that have, you know, only a few channels. And I think it's just great to hear him kind of pop off on this. He's got a nice groove that he just kind of leans into and does some nice little, like, trills and vibrato on the piano, and just, I don't know, it's just definitely my vibe. So I hope to hear more of that kind of stuff in the future. Keep up the good work, man. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chuck. So yeah, up next we have A Storekeeper from Front Mission Gun Hazard, and this is actually composed by Yasunori Mitsuda, though Ryu Umimoto on the SNES would have been crazy as hell. And this was featured on episode 2, Shop Themes. And that delightfully wonky tune was a storekeeper from Front Mission Gun Hazard, composed by Yasunori Mitsuda. This was featured in episode 2, Shop Themes. And this was picked by Chuck of Haberchuck, though I do remember hearing him say it as Hopperchuck. But in any case, Shop Themes. You know, VGMporium, I run this place kind of like a shop, or at least I tried to keep that theme going. And, you know, one of the main things I try to play here are shop themes, though I've only done 6 episodes, you know, which there definitely should be more. But it is a little tough to find shop themes that are within that certain kind of sound I'm looking for. That is until recently when I just went through a certain site and just typed in shop and went through all of them, and I currently have a stockpile, so there'll be definitely a lot more episodes coming up. You know, I could definitely go into the whole glut of RPG shop themes, you know, that are more traditional, kind of RPG-ish, you know what I mean. But I want to play stuff that is, well, the best way to put it is, you know, something that you would probably hear in a konbini or a convenience store. You know, it could be jazzy, could be a little funky, most definitely cheesy, but honestly, it's just something I can't really explain. It's, you know, it just sounds right. Think of it as a circle. You know, this track right here that Chuck picked, it kind of sits in like the halfway point between the center and the edge of the circle, you know, and in the center, you got things like Tomato Mart. And that probably doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I know it doesn't to me. That's the good stuff right there. So yeah, thank you, Chuck, for this pick and your message. And actually, this is a perfect Chuck tune because I've had him on as a guest doing night jams. And actually, mention of that, Bedroth and Pernell were also guests on the show as well. Check those episodes out. But yeah, Chuck is one part of Haberchuck, and he's the chiptune side of things. And he does some really good, chill, funky, jazzy stuff. He breathes in those night jams like Stormlight and then just goes off jam running. And speaking of running, we're coming into a track here that is perfect for just that. We're going to be hearing BGM1 from Racing Hero, composed by Hikoshi Hashimoto. This was featured in episode 78, Masters of EGM Year 2, and it was picked by Pocket Ellery. That was BGM1 from Racing Hero, composed by Hikoshi Hashimoto, and this was featured in episode 78, Masters of VGM, Year 2, and this is picked by Pocket Ellery. And damn, what a song! It can really get stuck in your head if you let it, and actually Pocket Ellery says just that. Such a catchy earworm that was an instant favorite when I first heard it back in 2022, so it was great to then see you give the track the love it deserves. And yes, this track deserves so much love, it's amazing. It's crazy. This is coming from one of Hikoshi Hashimoto's first projects that he's worked on, at least commercially. I couldn't find anything, before that, but, the fact that he was able to just come into this, just creating, like, this amazing, awesome, just, like, ballads of amazingness. Well, you can see why I chose him as one of my Masters of VGM. And if you're relatively new to the VGM podcast scene, there was an event called Masters of VGM that started last year, 2022, where a good portion of the VGM podcast all just, like, released episodes throughout the month of June, with their picks of, like, what they consider their Masters of VGM. And then this year's theme were composers that were undersung or just relative newcomers to being VGM composers. And I'm definitely curious and looking forward to what next year's theme will be, and as well as what mix-ups may be thrown in to kind of like make it a little bit more interesting. So Pocket Ellery, thank you so much for this pick, and thank you so much for listening, as well as for regularly submitting special orders. All right, now moving on to our next track here. Looks like we got one coming in from Professor Tom, who is part of that VGM podcast class of 2022 that Jameson mentioned. And what he's got us here is Ryu's theme from Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, the GBA version. This is composed by way too many people I want to name, so I'll just simply say the Capcom Sound Team. And this is featured in episode 17, Mom's Favorite Games. And that was Ryu's theme from Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, the Game Boy Advance version, composed by the Capcom Sound Team, featured in episode 17, Mom's Favorite Games, and this is picked by Professor Tom. And I have a message here from the professor himself.
Hey Rage Cage, Professor Tom from Shujin Academy VGM Club here to congratulate you on 100 episodes. I love your show, and I want to hear you do another 1,000. Great job, man.
Another 1,000? In order to reach that in a reasonable amount of years, I'd have to do like an episode a day for nearly 3 years. Maybe let's just scale it back a bit, like by 9/10, another 100 episodes, yeah? But that mountainous request aside, thank you so much, Tom, for your kind words, and glad you love the show. To be quite honest, sometimes I get in my own head and just kind of like worry that I'm not doing enough, to keep the show engaging, like, commenting more on the music itself, or, just doing more, but then, hearing comments like yours and like everybody else's, and that, the fact that I got as many, favorites as I did today, it's, kind of helps beats that self-doubt back and keeps me going. So again, thank you, Tom. And Professor Tom is the host of Shujin Academy VGM Club. I really enjoy his show and the format he's going with. It's pretty interesting. And hey, if you're a Persona fan, or the music at least, then hey, that's the podcast for you. And also, Tom guested on one of my episodes. Now, a quick rundown on this episode that this track was featured in, Mom's Favorites. Throughout my childhood, and even now, my mom has played various games, mostly puzzle games, and I just featured music from those games that she loved playing, from like Shanghai on the Sega Master System all the way up to Katamari Damacy. And hey, she still breaks this game out every once in a while on my old SP, though she has to keep it plugged in because that lithium battery is shot. So, I got a pretty cool mom. Now before I forget to mention it, Professor Tom has actually guested on the VGMporium. That would be episode 68, Investigating with Professor Tom, where we talk about games that involve investigations of one form or another. And this works wonderfully as a transition because the next pick that we have here is coming from this very episode. And what we got here is Office, Kojiro, from Eve Burst Era, composed by Ryu Umemoto, and this is picked by Gene Dre Band. that was Office, Kojiro, from Eve Burst Error, composed by Ryu Umemoto, and this is featured in episode 68, Investigating with Professor Tom, and this is picked by Gene Drayband. And he has a quick little thing he'd like to say about this track. Whether you're investigating a murder or investigating dab booty, you want Ryu Umemoto backing you up. He may be gone, but his legacy is not forgotten. And looks like he has a message for me. It says, congrats on 100 episodes. Thanks for making VGMporium the home for VGM goods and oddities, and for having the best trade-in values. It's been fun hanging out with you since we met a few years back, and thanks again for having me on the show. Thank you so much, Gene, for that. It's just really encouraging because, well, Gene is one of the hosts of Pixelated Audio alongside Brian Mosley, and it is my first VGM podcast, and is one of the big reasons why my podcast is kind of flavored towards the obscure. And as he mentioned, we met a couple years ago in person at a Button Masher show at DNA Lounge, and then most recently at MagWest. And he too has guested on VGMporium. That would be episode 62, Musicians Famous Outside VGM. And well now, this has definitely been a guest fest, just one after another, so it's time to break it up with a pick from another relatively new customer. Though this one is a bit of an odd one because it technically was featured on VGMporium, but it is a version of it that was not. But I allowed it because I was really surprised when they shared it with me. So this pick is from Box Cubed, and the track that would be playing here is Pennant Race from Namachukai 68, composed by Yuji Takanouchi. But what he done here is he picked Name Entry from Golfing Greats 2, also composed by Yuji Takanouchi, and well, I'll explain what's going on here after the track. And that was Name Entry from Golfing Greats 2, composed by Yuji Takanouchi, which is an alternate version of Pennant Race from Namachukai 68, also composed by Yuji Takanouchi, from episode 56, Konami Baseball 2-for-1, though it was right there. I could have called it Konami Baseball Doubleheader. But that aside, this pick by Box Cubed, yes, so like I said, this is an alternate version of a track that was featured on VGMporium, so technically it works. And the differences between this one and the original is that this is a little bit more upbeat, sample-based as opposed to FM, and it's missing the last half of the song. You know, I just couldn't say no to featuring this one because it's just so damn good. Can't deny Yuji Takanouchi, man. So thank you, Box Cubed, for your pick and for listening. Okay, getting into our next track here. This one's another oddball. It's a non-VGM track. This is Chiltonwalk.temp by Graham Cartna from their album .temp, and this is featured in episode 48, Anonymous, and this is picked by St. John of Des Moines. and that was Chiltonwalk.temp by Graham Cartna from their album .temp, and this is featured in episode 48, Anonymous, and this is picked by St. John of Des Moines. And I think I know why he picked this one is because shortly after this episode, he mentioned to me that he, first heard this song and was stuck on it and just kept listening to it on loop because he just really enjoyed it. Something to the effect of being like audio stimming. And hey, I don't blame him. This song is really good. Just Graham Cartna's music in general is just all around really good, like really addictive. It's something I could catch myself listening to nonstop. So now some context on this track and the episode it's from, episode 48, Anonymous. So what exactly is an Anonymous? Well, they are an animator on YouTube that primarily uses Source Filmmaker, and these videos are just the most ridiculously enjoyable things I have ever seen because they're just like wildly and wonderfully animated to the music that they feature, and most of the music that Anonymous features in these videos are of digital fusion or just weirdo stuff like this. And their musical taste, aligns so much with mine that I had to do a whole episode just talking about the music that was featured in their videos as well as some of their videos. So the video that this song was featured in, called Beach Bird, it's about an ostrich that's hanging out on a beach, goes through a magical door, gets boots, gets a magical hat, has to do a dance. It's a really fun time. And now circling back to St. John, host of Nerd Noise Radio, which has two formats. There's Channel 1, which is more of a curated playlist, and then Channel 2, where he and his buddy Hughes get together and just talk about video game music. And actually, a cool thing is that I was featured on Nerd Noise Radio a couple times, actually, because, I do write original chiptune, and he wanted to feature my music on his show, which was really cool. And, again, thank you so much, John, for doing that. And thank you for your pick. And actually, it's been in the works for a bit, but he will be a guest on VGMporium and vice versa. So, yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. And so now moving on. Wait, what's that? Why was I featured on Nerd Noise Radio? That's because I do write original chiptune as well as some VGM. And actually, that helps lead into the next pick here because, it's one of my tracks. And this is picked by my buddy Wade, and he did a sneaky thing. He said he wanted me to play this, and he didn't pick anything else, so here it is. This is going to be Chill Stroll by me, Rage Cage. This was featured in episode 25, Mega Drive Genesis chiptune scene of the 2010s, and this is picked by my buddy Wade. Well, that was Chill Stroll by me, Rage Cage. This is my first chiptune, as well as my first song written in a tracker. This is featured in episode 25, Mega Drive Genesis chiptune scene of the 2010s, and this was picked by my good friend Wade, who I've known since middle school. That may not seem big, but for me, I moved around a lot when I was in elementary school and middle school, and I landed here in Placerville, and he was the first kid I met and made friends with, so he is my longest running friend. He's one of them where, we could go without seeing or talking to each other for years, and then once we get back together, it's just getting right back to the swing of things. And it was actually shortly after one of these periods where I actually had him on as a guest on VGMporium, being my first guest. And that would be episode 39, an inexplicably cute sound. Though I will note the audio on there is a little rough because I only had the one mic, and, my interface and other mics were packed away for some reason. So, yeah, but still, it was a really fun time, probably one of my favorite episodes, alongside episode 25. the Sega Genesis Mega Drive chiptune scene of the 2010s, because that holds a special place for me, because it was one of the first episode ideas I had when I was first thinking of doing a podcast. And I went all out on this one, because not only did I feature tracks and testimonials from, some of the bigger names from the scene, but I also got like this amazingly detailed story from Shiru 8-Bit, who had created the program VGM Music Maker, which we all started with, making our Genesis chiptune, and which I made this track with. And, I would highly encourage you to go listen to it, because it's pretty impressive, like just where he started from and how it all evolved into creating the Sega Genesis chiptune tracker. I'm forever grateful for him creating it. And also, hey, if you want to know about this song, listen to that episode as well. It's towards the end. And now getting back to Wade, I eventually want to have him back on the episode, definitely with a better setup, so you could hear him better, hear me better. Things will be a lot more clear. And then whatever topic he comes up with will be just probably some weird, inexplicable sound that, well, we just hear it and we know. We just know. So my buddy, dude, if you're listening to this, now you know. Which we're both in agreement is an amazing soundtrack, All right, now coming into our next customer pick here, I got a message from Mike Levy. Let's check it out.
Hey, Rage Cage, it's Mike from XVGM Radio. I am reaching out to, first off, congratulate you on 100 episodes. That's amazing. Well done, sir. It is always a challenge to keep a podcast going for that long, so kudos to you. And for your little 100th episode, choose your own track based on previous entries, I'm going to go back to your episode 26, which is Sounds of the Casino with Julius Valentino. I happen to really enjoy this kind of music, and when I saw that you picked something from Star Cruiser by Toshiya Yamanaka, I was totally in love with this track that you picked, The Great Red Spot. So that is my choice. I can't wait to hear it on the episode. Again, congrats from Justin and I of XVGM Radio. And I don't know, we'll have Janine send you a fruit basket. So take care.
Janine, fruit basket? Is it here? No, she's gonna squirt in my ear. Wait, it hasn't happened. Yeah, okay. No screeching in the ear. That's always good. Yeah, my ears are still ringing from Spooky Fest. Okay, so yeah. Well, we're going in from Amateur Hour FM to True Pro FM. Gonna play you the Great Red Spot, the OPN version, from Star Cruiser, composed by Toshiya Yamanaka, and this is featured in episode 26, Sounds of the Casino with Julius Valentino, picked by Mike Levy. that was the Great Red Spot OPN version from Star Cruiser, composed by Toshiya Yamanaka. This was featured in episode 26, Sounds of the Casino with Julius Valentino, and this was picked by Mike Levy. And thank you so much, Mike, for your kind and encouraging words. And it's really hammering home the fact that a bunch of other VGM podcasters, few of them that have been going on for years now, are actually actively coming into VGMporium and enjoying my wares. And with Mike here, I have my 3 podcasts that help inspire me to do my own podcast: Pixelated Audio, XVGM Radio, though by extent that would be also Pixel Tunes Radio, and Rhythm and Pixels. And now the big dream is to become like them and inspire somebody else. So thank you again, Mike. And in case you don't know, Mike Levy is one of the 2 hosts of XVGM Radio, which is presented as a radio show. It's a pretty fun show. They get in customer calls, have ads. Though when you call in, they have a Metroid that runs their studio, and she happens to screech in my ear all the time. I don't know why. What's going on, Mike? Why does she do this to me? I don't hear anybody else complaining about it, so something about it, she just has it out for me. I don't know what's going on. Just please tell me why. Anyway, Mike Levy, let's see. He has also been a guest on VGMporium, episode 74, Into the N64th Dimension, wherein we get into the less talked about titles of the N64 library. And he also extols the many virtues of the N64, obviously. And now before we move on, a little bit about this track. Of course, it's really jazzy, really smooth, good reason. It was picked by Julius Valentino, who hosted that episode, Great Sounds of the Casino. And, he, like I said, he is our resident swank master. He's all about that, just like smoky jazz, swanky tunes, big brass, all that stuff. And he sounds like a strange combination of Fred Flintstone, Humphrey Bogart, and Columbo. Definitely a lot easier to be around than his cousin Donatello Valentino, whereas Julius is the swank master, Donatello is more the schmaltz master, if that's the best way of putting it. If you want to know what I'm talking about, check out the Valentine's Day episode in 2022. All right, now getting into our next track here. This one's a biggin'. Here we go. This is Zero to Hero from Marvel's The Guardians of the Galaxy video game, and this is performed by the band Star-Lord, and this is from episode 66, Over the Top Characters with The Last Rican, and this was picked, of course, by The Last Rican.
Hanging on your head.
And that was Zero to Hero from Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, the video game. This is performed by the band Star-Lord, and this is featured in episode 66, Over the Top Characters with The Last Rican, and this, of course, was picked by The Last Rican himself, Daryl Bowers. And, he had some reasons for picking this song that he had originally picked for the episode that he guested on, but, and they're, pretty powerful here. So, well, the first one, one, this song rocks. Two, back in October, I lost a very close friend of mine. It was sudden, and it's something that's going to sting for a while, knowing that he's no longer walking this earth. I feel like this song perfectly encompasses the individual he was. This one is also for anyone out there feeling down on themselves. Life sucks. We all get knocked down. We all have trials and tribulations, but we all will persevere. Keep doing the good work, sir. I'll be stopping by with some new wares soonish. That kind of gives me an idea, because I know you're into wrestling, and I got a wrestler that works here, Mumba Chuwamba. Maybe you two should do an episode together here. Yeah. But yeah, no, getting back to Rican's message here, yeah, it's very powerful because I actually found out about this through Rhythm and Pixels on their episode, Pokemon Remembrances, where Pernell was talking about their friend, Michael Brotherton, who had suddenly passed away. And going off how Pernell had described him, that, yes, this song is perfect. We got to take Daryl's words at heart here because, I personally lost about 3 friends in the same year or so. And I may not have been as close to them as Daryl was to Mike, but still, it was a pretty hard hit. So we'll definitely have to remember, reach out to friends, reach out to your family, just, whenever you can, because you never know when they may go. So thank you, Daryl, for your message for everybody. And, we can all take example from Daryl because, he's a pretty over-the-top ridiculous guy. And the characters that we talked about in that episode, all of them blissfully are just living their best lives, just blissfully ignorant of their over-the-top ridiculousness. And, we can take example from them because, sometimes you just gotta let yourself be ridiculous and enjoy who you are. So thank you again, Daryl, the last Rican. I'm actually kind of liking the idea of having you on the show again, possibly with Mumba Chuwamba. I don't know. I think it'd be a great ridiculous time. Alrighty, so now we're going to get into our next track. This pick is coming from Naruse, and he has a message, but it's somehow implanted into the shop's PA system. So hold on, let me get this going. Which, come to think of it, hasn't actually ever been used. So let's see, how do you work this thing? Aha! Here we go!
Attention shoppers and listeners of VGMporium. This is Naruse, the host of VGM and podcast brother to Rage Cage. I would like to congratulate him on his 100th episode. His podcasts have been entertaining and at times educational. His other hosts have certainly added some flavor, even when it gets cringy or spicy. One of my favorite episodes is, of course, number 64, where we discussed some modern video game music that have been chiptuned. I wish the best for another 100 episodes as his store expands into other areas of interest.
Well, you heard him, folks. Even though he didn't mention it on the message here, he did have a pick, which is Can You Feel the Sunshine? Family Tracker cover. And though this was actually featured in an SP06, he originally selected this to be featured on that guest episode, so we'll go with it. So again, we got Can You Feel the Sunshine? Family Tracker cover, which is a cover of Can You Feel the Sunshine, originally from Sonic R, originally composed by Richard Jacques and arranged by Emilgi Iglima. was Can You Feel the Sunshine, Family Tracker cover, which of course was Can You Feel the Sunshine from Sonic R, originally composed by Richard Jakes, arranged by Emilgi Iglema, and this is picked by Martyrs, who, as he mentioned in his message, is the host of VGM, which is a VGM podcast that focuses on remixes, arrangements, and covers. And he is part of that VGM podcast class of 2022, but we do refer to each other as brothers because we did get started because of that inspirational message from Pernell from that one episode. I can't remember which one it was. And yeah, we got started around the same time, and actually he is fast approaching his episode 100. He's only like a couple episodes behind me. So I'm pretty excited to see what he's got planned for it. And so seeing as his focus is on remixes and then my show focuses more on chiptune stuff, we decided to combine the two when he came on as a guest and focus on modern VGM that was remixed as chiptune. And by modern, we kind of were looking at things that were like within the last 15 to 20 years or so. So this song didn't really make the cut, so that's why it ended up being an SPO. So thank you again, Martyrs, for this message, for your pick, and also for reaching episode 100 within, let's see, you release after I do, so tomorrow will be 98, so 2 more episodes for you. Really exciting, and yes, another 100 episodes for me and for you, buddy. And this brings us to the end. I was kind of hoping to have more to play for you, but actually, this works out. It's just the right amount. 15 tracks? Yeah. So thank you everybody who submitted tracks and for your amazing messages. It's definitely let me know I'm doing something right here, and yeah, just giving me the juice and the encouragement to just keep going. And thank you to everybody who's listened to VGMporium, whether you've been here since the grand opening or this is your first time coming in and, you know, on episode 100, hey, thank you so much. You know, it's cool to know that I have a pretty good online following, I think. I don't have a way of actually measuring the metrics because I'm self-hosting it through WordPress and then all the different podcatchers and stuff, so they have their own metrics and stuff, so I have really no solid numbers, but, you know, going off of what I can read on Spotify and Apple Music and even Google Podcast, there's people actively listening and following, so that's really cool to know. And that's outside of the circle of folks that I've been interacting with online. And, you know, even there, my interactivity and engagement is pretty minimal because I've always been a lurker. It's a lot of this, like, you know, being active online stuff is kind of new to me within these last few years. You know, I do have a bit of that with the special orders and stuff, but I want to do more to engage with my my customers. You know, but we'll see. So again, I'd like to thank everybody for listening and for contributing their picks and for their amazing messages. And yeah, you know, this has been VGMporium, Video Game Music and More podcast. And the majority of you already know where to find me, but you know, if there are a few out there that are, you know, new to the show, either by within the last few episodes or this episode, you can find VGMporium on all your favorite podcatchers such as Spotify, Apple, Google, Amazon, Audible, as well as on TerraPlayer, which is a hub for all kinds of different video game podcasts. But if you want to go directly to the source, there's always VGMporium.wordpress.com. And of course, there's the ever-present social medias. You can find at VGMporium on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And there is a Discord as well, which will be linked at the bottom of the show notes. So again, thank you, all of you, so much for listening, contributing, just being you. And yeah, looking pretty excited for what's going to be coming for the next 100. So now to close this episode out, I feel like it's appropriate to play the last song I played on my very first episode. That being Farewell from Mega Man Battle Network 3, composed by Yoshina Aoki, featured in episode 1, Grand Opening.